Buenos dias, señores y señores, and welcome to another edition of the SoccerSanchez podcast. I'm here joined, as always, by our regular guests. We've got Leigh Petrelli, our man from Dam. Say hello, innit?
Hello.
Chelsea fan D-Lord the Don.
Yo.
And as always, my co-host, Stu Gets Goals. How is everyone today?
Great, thanks.
Good.
Happy, man.
Good. I'm sure we're all excited about the upcoming international break. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe, and join in the conversation if you like what you hear. And don't forget, you can also catch the podcast on SoundCloud as well. Link will be in the description of the video. So as we approach International Week, it is another weekend of fixtures that many football fans tend to find quite strenuous. Given the nostalgia international football gives us, me personally, I started loving football because of international football. Italian 90 was my World Cup, and because my favourite players were Gary Lineker and Paul Gascoigne, I ended up supporting Tottenham. So back then I was a glory hunter, unfortunately. As times change and have gone on, club football has become more important. The money involved, the big stars and the clubs, the Premier League, Serie A, La Liga, Bundesliga, all these big names playing from all over the world in the best leagues in the world, kind of leaves international football as a side piece. The World Cup, undoubtedly, is a competition that everyone sees, whether you love football or not, hence why it's nicknamed the Festival of Football. But when we come to other competitions, the continental competitions run by AFCON, CONMEBOL or UEFA are of interest, but the lead up to those games, the qualifiers, don't catch the imagination as they used to do back in the day, whether that's me getting older, I'm thinking of the good old days, or whether that's the actual truth of modern day international football. UEFA have tried to make the international game more interesting by bringing in the Nations League. It has served its purpose to an extent since 2018, but now that we're in the middle of a pandemic, the question has to be raised whether or not international football is as important as it was back then to actually be playing through such an important period in the world. Stuart, start with you. I know you're a big fan of international football, obviously close follower of Colombia, where me and you have shared many moments watching Colombia in the World Cups, and it's been fantastic, and no one can doubt that World Cups in particular are a great way to kind of connect with other people, especially non-football fans. But what is your view on how international football has gone recently, and what does it mean to you in general?
Yeah, I think international football for me it holds a special place in my heart, especially South American World Cup qualifiers. I'm gutted that it doesn't get the coverage it should get in Europe. Even competitions like Copa America, it never got the traction in Sky Sports, for example, or other mainstream Western media channels. Partly explained because of the time differences. I think now we have World Cup qualifiers that take place around 9 o'clock or 8:30 even. I mean, the next round of qualifiers next week are going to be at 9 o'clock for Colombia games and for the other World Cup qualifying games in the region. So it makes sense for me, for a channel like BT Sport, for example, to show one or two of those games. But yeah, going back to international football again. So for me, European international football has less of an allure, and I really don't pay attention to I don't want to sound unpatriotic, but in terms of England playing in the qualifiers, whether that be Euros or World Cup qualifiers, I pay little attention, to be honest. And it pains us clear because I really get behind them when it comes to the World Cup. But when it comes to the qualifiers, they're playing in groups where, they're bound to pick up, most of the points there. They'll lose one or max two games there, but they'll qualify, really easily. They'll play out of those, let's say, 5 teams in the group. They'll play one that's, fairly, it's a decent opposition. But the rest of them will be, really poor quality teams. Like, there might be, no disrespect. It'll be the likes of, like, let's say, Latvia, Lithuania. I'm sure they've got their talisman, but
apologies to our Moldovan listeners.
So I don't want to offend any kind of person from the Eastern European countries or San Marino.
But that country's crap. They're crap, innit? You can't hide the fact.
the correct version. But yeah, they're not stopping the world alight in terms of their football prowess, and they're not going to push to go out, go and watch a game for an hour and a half, 2 hours. So yeah, for me, European international football has been pretty much dead from the beginning. And I'd love it if there's some sort of bold, imaginative idea where they did something in a similar vein to Latin America, where they have them in a league. In Latin America before, it used to be via groups as well. But in Latin America, that probably did better because of the rivalries in the region are much more highlighted than the ones in Europe. But I think the league format also makes it probably a bit more interesting now. So if Europe was to do something similar, have 2 big groups and have like a playoff between the first, let's say, just to give you an example, the first 5 teams from each group has a knockoff round, that will make it more interesting for me.
For what's that for, though? Because it sounds like you're describing the Nations League.
Is that what it's really like? So the Nations League, the winners of the Nations League have a playoff to see, but it's only one of those teams, 1 or 2 of those teams that get to the next, they get qualified for Euros. Is that right?
I don't think the Nations Leagues are at all connected. It's just a separate competition to kind of make friendlies a bit more glamorous, let's say, and probably to charge more at the gate. But then what the Nation Leagues does do is what you mentioned there, and what Dennis politely put, the lesser teams, let's say, are in their own group. There's like a Division A or League A and a League B, and they, the way the Nation Leagues work is to put the lesser teams in one league and the better teams in the other league. But it doesn't really cut the mustard, really, does it? The Nations League.
Yeah, for me, I've not really. I've watched the odd game here and there, and it's more competitive than friendly. But still, it still doesn't like set my emotions alight, and I really wouldn't waste my time watching a European international game when you have the South American international games that are much more exciting and there's much more at stake. There's a lot more pride at stake as well. I mean, if a country like, let's say, Colombia was to lose to Venezuela, that would hurt. Seeing that we have Colombian families, that would hurt our pride. Yeah.
I have to agree with you though that the South American World Cup qualifying, I've said it to Lane, I've said it to D-Law as well, is in my opinion the best league you can watch. If you put obviously they played over a span of 2 years. If you were to put them every week on a weekend, watch them every week like a league tournament, those are some games. There's some excellent games in that, and it is the best World Cup qualifier in any of the continents because it is so. We're talking about 12 South American teams in one league. It's just mad. It could be more. I can't remember. But Lay, come on to you. I don't know how much it can be. How much international football can kind of pull at your heartstrings. I know you personally, you always quoted to me, tell me about how it was when you saw Nigeria win the Olympics. That must have been an amazing feeling to have a country, win a competition like that. And I'm sure all of us, our best memories, football memories, involve our countries at some point. What has international football been to you? And do you think it's been very much watered down because of the money involved in club football?
It's definitely been watered down. But I would say it's still a matter of perception because Stuart said, like, back home, like, when Colombia are playing their qualifiers, I'm sure you follow that. Religiously. Like, you take, with no offense to the English game, I think the Premier League and some European leagues have kind of overshadowed the importance of international football. I still think it's great. In England, we perhaps prefer, the Premier League, and on the weekends we're all like, oh, why is this, like, what the hell's going on, man? Like, I'd rather just watch my team play. So, but growing up in Nigeria, it was different. I think, it's just, I no offense, I think it's more of a Western thing in some respects. Back home or in more, I would say, third world countries, football is a bit more, they still take the national team as serious as they do their clubs, if not more. So I think you got the luxury of the Premier League and it somehow overshadows things. But yeah, I definitely prefer, definitely take international football serious. I just don't like the friendlies, to be honest. I think it's nearly pointless to a degree.
One thing I have to praise about international football is the fact that it does give fans the opportunity to go to the stadium if the country's playing near them and watch some of the best players in the world. Again, Lay, we were at the Emirates to watch Argentina-Brazil. We saw Aguero make his debut for Argentina that day. Carlos Tevez, I think, played in that game as well. Kaká, like, we've seen some great players. I'm pretty sure Dennis was with us at White Hart Lane, wasn't he?
No.
I don't think I came to that one.
No. We went to, wasn't it Wales against England?
No, Wales,
Brazil.
Ronaldinho.
And exactly. We saw Ronaldinho, Ryan Giggs.
Craig Bellamy was amazing.
And the thing is, as well, with these friendlies, is that the gate, the tickets are a lot cheaper than what they would have been if there was a qualifier, or even like an international tournament. So there are some positives to friendlies, but Dennis, do you think there's a place for international football during a pandemic? I mean, I have to agree that the Euro qualifiers have to be completed. That's fine. But things like the Nations League and other friendlies that are being played, especially given the restrictions and different rules that are across the world with different countries, do you think they should have been played?
In all honesty, I would say, personally, I'm not even going to lie to you, I don't even know the whole setup with the new Nations League, like how it's structured. You know, I just knew it was something they tried to make it a bit more competitive, or
obviously hasn't worked, has it? No one knows the rules.
Listen, nobody knows the rules. Well, I mean, some people know the rules, but for me, I don't know. I haven't really taken any interest in the league. With me personally, especially with the European football, I don't really want to be seeing England playing Andorra, or all these meaningless games. I don't get any excitement from it. Personally, especially during the pandemic, I personally would say, if it's a friendly, I think they should just cancel it. There's no like, the less traveling you do, or the less mixing you do, the better. If it's a qualifier then okay, you can take the risk and go through the whole procedure or whatever, and then play those games, because those games have to be played. But if it's friendlies, I think I don't think that friendlies need to be played right now, especially in the times that we're in, especially when there's no fans in the stadium. So it's not like you're making money off tickets. You're not making money off tickets. So why are these players flying all over the world to play these friendlies when nobody's watching? Everyone's watching on TV. So me personally, I don't think there should be. But then again, I could be speaking from a biased point of view, because obviously now I'm more interested in club football than international football. I mean, I keep an eye on Nigeria, see what they're doing. England, I'm not really a person that will say, I'm going to sit down and watch England matches. I'm not really a fan like that, But as you guys said, it's kind of funny, because with the South American League or South American football, I can watch that, because for some reason there's a lot of passion. I'd rather watch a game with Peru versus Venezuela, or Peru versus Chile, than watching a Belgium versus England for
Serbia.
example, or Serbia. You know what I'm saying? Like any, I can sit down and literally watch any South American football, because I know it's going to be fiery. I know it could be a friendly.
Yeah.
Friendly. There's no such thing with South Americans. There's no such thing as a friendly. Everything is, we have to win. You know what I mean? Like, it's pride. It's pride. Like, they walk onto the pitch with pride. When I watch European football, I don't get that. It's just, we just come in to do
it's
a
like
job.
close proximity, though. The continent is very enclosed. If you think about Europe, it's very broad, and like I said, that Eastern Europe. You don't get Eastern South America or Western South. I think that's got a lot to do with it. You're right.
Exactly. And saying that, I think I would probably even watch more of let's say a league between England, Wales, Ireland, and Scotland. I think I would watch that, because you could see there's rivalry. There's rivalry there. So there's going to be a passion. They're playing for the shirt. Like, they want to get one over the other. But when you're playing, I don't know, Serbia versus France, or you don't really get any excitement to that. And then again, also, I don't even know if it's to do with the fact that with the football styles changed now. Yeah, it's more systematic now. Back in the days, like you said, when you mentioned Italian 90s, there were a lot of stars, a lot of individual class players.
Every team had their own style as well. Very, very.
Exactly. Everything was like the Brazil had the samba, the Italians had the defensive way of playing. Where the Argentinians had they were like fiery. Everybody had individual stars that you could look at and say, wow, look at that player, like Romario, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Ortega, or even in England had, the Alan Shearers, who else? Who would you say? Gascoigne, like
charismatic captain.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But it's like now it's just like everybody's more like a system player. There's not really like a really standout player that you can say, oh, I'm really looking forward to see this player play for England. Like
everyone dives now. Everyone dives. In the 90s and 80s, these people kicking each other to bits, and you know what I mean. Now everyone dives.
It's mad. So I personally, like, I really hate the international period right now. Like, I'm thinking of what I need to do for this period.
But you do feel differently, and everyone feels differently, right? When the World Cup's on, is that correct?
Of course, like, and that's the thing. I actually made a joke. I said a joke. I think I must have tweeted it out. Like, like these games right now, this qualifier should be simulated. Just simulate the scores, and whoever, just take us straight to the tournament, the World Cup tournament, the Euro tournament. The Copa America. Just take us straight there. Like, I will watch that. I can watch every game. But for some reason, I can't do it with the qualifiers. I can't do it.
Yeah, so, no, there is something very sterile about international football. Obviously, depending on where you're watching it in the world and what team you support. But
Ryan, why would you, seeing as you're from Colombia as well, and your family's from Colombia, why would you say that South American international football is more attractive than watching European international football?
I don't think it's a case of a style of football. I just think it's because traditionally, anyway, in terms of Colombia, if you think about the team we had back in the 90s, only a handful of them played in Europe. Most of them were playing in South America or in other parts of the world, and you wouldn't really see them much. Whereas now you look at the Colombian team, it's full of stars that play in the top leagues in Europe, and I think that closeness that fans have with the players, like they'll say, oh, this guy's from this town or this city, and we support him, and like Valderrama, he's got that statue outside the Magdalena's stadium, and everyone in that town love him. They see him as a god, and that's the case with many football players who play for Colombia. I just think that for example, in England, you kind of take it for granted. You kind of see them every week, and you kind of, I don't know, like there's more of there's just less of a connection in general. I think the players, for example, in South America, are far more open with their fans, whether it be in interviews or on social media, especially nowadays. Whereas the ones like the English players, they're very the monitored and the media trained and things like that, and I think that's quite important with regards to how fans connect with these players.
No, definitely. I mean, like I have to say, whilst I agree with Dennis on the international week, I'm not a big fan. I did get to see loads of my favorite players by friendlies, like you actually mentioned. So it does have its benefits, but then ironically, as we are saying, all the games we went to see back then had Brazil, or you usually have Brazil playing. So there's always that appeal. So
they weren't playing England.
No, definitely not. No, true. We saw Brazil.
No, you say that, and I agree with that point. Like, back then, I don't want to sound like it's old, but like I'm old, but
a while ago,
there were players that made you want to go and watch, them in real life. Like you just mentioned, you saw Ronaldinho. I mean, that's a player I wish I actually got to see play live. There are R9s. I didn't, but now it's like if it's not Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, is there a player to say, oh, you know what, I'm going to buy an England ticket because I actually want to see this player play?
How long is he going to play? You never know if he's going to start. Like, it's just weird. Plus, it's England too. It's very, it's very disjointed.
That's a good point. With Colombia and the friendly, they'd always have the strongest team, whereas in England, like you say, you don't know who's going to play. And that can lead to disappointment if you go to friendly.
Exactly. You buy a ticket and you get there, and the person that you want to see play is not even, he might get 10 minutes, So it's like, what's the point? Rather just.
Brian, is that the press in South America, I think, is a lot more scathing of the national team if they don't field a strong team, because there's so much pride at stake that if they lose that match fielding a second, B team, the manager will get crucified. I mean, I've looked at Carlos Queiroz. He had a few dodgy results. Not even that bad. I think he lost one and drew a game, but he didn't play very well. People were saying, "Oh, is he the right man for the job? Kick Carlos Queiroz out." I mean, yeah, England managers get a lot of stick as well, but it's not as bad as that in South America. I think there's a lot more running in the game in South America than in European international football.
It is mad how important the friendlies are, though, because remember when France played Colombia, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, and Colombia I think they came back from 2-1 down and they won the game. The hype behind that win was like, wow, amazing, we beat the world champions and da-da-da-da. Like, was that before the World Cup? I can't remember now. Yeah, before the World Cup, yeah.
We beat them 3-2. Came back, I think we only did 2-0 and won 3-2.
Yeah, and that was such a big thing. Whereas over here, if England beat Brazil, it's like, yeah, we beat them, and it shows that they're going to do really well in the qualifiers rather than it's a proud moment type thing.
That's the World Cup. They always flop in the World Cup, and that's why no one really wants to pay attention to the friendlies, because they're a false indicator as to what England are going to do in the World Cup. So I think that's why friendlies are kind of friendlies, and this kind of Nations League, they're not a real test. So why bother watching? It's not going to be a real test and show us what England will do in the World Cup. So again, that's I think the reason why I get turned off from England when they play.
I mean, I've the last couple of games, and to be honest, there's been a few of the last couple of years. I've fallen asleep at half time. I don't know if that's my age or what, but I'm so dead watching these games, honestly. Last word on this. Given that the international break is coming up, do you think if you were head of the of FIFA, would you scrap them for the rest of the year while this pandemic is on? Would you carry it on, and would you play the Euros next summer?
Well, I would. First things, I would definitely scrap the games. Like I said, there's no point. There's the risk of extra infections, domino effects from all these players traveling and coming back to their clubs. It's just not worth it. But yeah, and then obviously the main effort will be trying to host the Euros, because that would have made this summer. And it's been a crazy year, so ideally, yes, scrap the games and just move on to the Euros.
Yeah, Euro 2020 being played in 2021. It's going to be something very, very different. I'm sure they didn't want to change the logo. Too much money involved. Fair enough. So we'll move on now to something closer to home and something close very much to Le Petrelli's heart. We get to Arsenal and the current situation in the Premier League now. Mikel Arteta took over from Unai Emery. You forgot his name there. Took over from Unai Emery, and much was said about the Spaniards having worked as an understudy to Pep Guardiola. Many thought that Guardiola's style of football would be coming to Arsenal, whereas he's done very well with Arsenal, to be fair to him, last season, having won the FA Cup and also the Community Shield prior to the start of this season. This season has been a bit of a rocky affair. They've played 8 games, 4 wins, 4 defeats. There's been some criticism with regards to their style of play. Their recent game against Aston Villa, they were beaten 3-0 at home with some really obvious defensive errors going on. They play a back 3, something which isn't Arsenal's style, so to say, in recent years. Lay, how do you think it's been going on at Arsenal? We'll get to the Ozil thing later, so we will talk about him. But in terms of what's happening on the pitch and Arteta and since he's joined, have Arsenal actually improved under the Spaniard?
Yeah, definitely say they've improved. Definitely, it's just obviously we've had this conversation for a long time. Even when Wenger was in charge, the problems that Arsenal run very deep. Like there are real issues, like in terms of people just not in charge or doing the things they're supposed to do. Like it's not a well-run club. So, you know, in terms of the on the pitch, they've definitely improved. You know, they won the FA Cup. They've actually beaten some teams this season where they could have lost. And in all due fairness, Aston Villa beat Liverpool 7-2 not too long ago. So, you know, it is the Premier League. You know, I would say perhaps if they're a in the stadium, maybe that wouldn't be the result. But all in all, I would say they've improved. I'm not saying they're the best team by a mile, but you know they've definitely improved.
How are we judging? When you say improved, how are we judging that? What are we basing that
on?
Yeah, come on, man, give us something.
Man. Well, okay, so that FA Cup win, I would say the one they had was definitely an improvement on whatever position they were prior to him taking over. The Europa League exit was definitely typical Arsenal. That highlighted issues. I know Aubameyang missed the chance, like last kick of the game or whatever. But if he scored, it would have papered over the cracks like it always has. Like, you know, so there are things at Arsenal that need addressing. But the FA Cup win, and I would say some of the approach play, you know, recently has been okay. The mistakes he's making, for me, where it comes down to management, and I think managers are just lazy now. Like they're also trying to score the same goal all the time. Like pull back and cut back and then like a tap in. Like I haven't seen in a long time. And like I said, they have improved. The FA Cup is testament to that, and the Community Shield, you know. But it's been a long time since I've seen an Arsenal player get played through and go down the middle. I can't, like, as in you see Arsenal goals here, like it's been ages since you beat the last defender or got played through. And then, you know, like the Henry one, man, like where Bergkamp plays in Henry, like, you know, that's football. But then like I said, it goes down to management. And Dennis was saying it with the international football, like systems. We're playing the same systems now. Everyone wants to play out the back. It's a bit lazy. Like, you know, it's so predictable. I know how the goal is going to go. You're trying to switch the play and then it's, you know. So he's trying, but maybe he needs the players to do what he wants and that will take time. So there you go. But yeah. Like, I mean, but you know me, man, like, bro, if the man has to go, he has to go, you know. Like
you know why I asked that? Because I saw something, I don't know how true it is. I saw something that says basically Emery versus Arteta stats. And basically in Premier League games they play, you know, like the 28 games played, Emery's had more wins, less draws, less losses, and he scored more goals.
What, the games? How many games?
28.
But okay. Which teams do they play?
In Premier League, it's a Prem games only.
Games only. Okay.
Yeah. So like they've won, for example, their win percentage under Emery is 60% in Prem, but with Arteta is 46.4%.
Right. Dennis, where do you think? I mean, how do you think Arteta's done at Arsenal so far? Personally speaking, I don't really see much of a difference between Emery and what Arteta's done since he's been at Arsenal. I think they're currently in 11th place. I've got on the screen here their recent form: Arsenal 2, Sheffield United 1, Man City 1, Arsenal 0, Arsenal 0, Leicester 1. They got the 1-0 win over United, which wasn't hard really. Just saying. And Arsenal obviously losing to Aston Villa. So, Dennis, like, what do you think was going on at the Emirates?
To be fair, I'd be lying if I said I've actually, you know, watched a lot of Arsenal games apart from like highlights, you know, because I'm sure everybody's got problems within their squad, so everyone's kind of like focused on their squads and whatever. But from what I've seen, it seems to me that the fact that he plays 3 at the back shows that he wants to be a bit more defensively structured. I'm not sure. Maybe Arsenal, you felt Arsenal were conceding a a lot of goals. So he's trying to first build from the back and then, focus on the attacking side. But then you look at the team, they have got good attackers. I mean, whether you class Aubameyang as a world-class striker or not, he's a top striker. Yeah, I mean, look at the front end of the team. You got Aubameyang. I'm not sure what's happening with Lacazette. It's like something's happened to him where he's just completely a shadow of himself. Like from when he first came, I remember he was taking shots and from everyone and just hitting them. He had like powerful shots. Like I was thinking, wow, they actually got a good striker. But like now he's like, I don't know who's playing. They nickname him like a threat. You know what I mean? He doesn't threaten whatsoever. And you get someone like Nketiah, who's a very good player, a goal scorer, ahead of you in who's more dangerous than you, then there's something there. But you look at the team, you bring in, the experience of Willian. They've got Pepe, but I'm not even sure what's happening with him. He's not playing games. You can see from the defense, they've strengthened the defense. They brought in that Gabriel. Gabriel seems a decent.
He looks good.
Yeah, he seems to have elevated Holden's game as well. David Luiz is on the bench, and they've brought in Thomas Partey, and Elneny is come out the abyss. And, him and Partey are doing bits in the defensive side. So it's focusing on the defensive side, but that's been detrimental to how they attack, because I don't know if the stats is correct, but I think the last 4 games, they haven't scored a goal in open play. Like the goals are diminished. I've seen against Man United, the penalty, they scored a penalty and that's it. Aubameyang, I think, only has 2 goals this season.
Wow, yeah, 1 goal. Arsenal got 3 goals in 5 games. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's someone that's, usually prolific. Like his peers, the Hurricanes, the Jamie Vardys and whatever, they're already on like 7 and 8.
Because he got paid. He got paid, man. He got a contract. So F this, I'm chilling.
So yeah, it's a bit weird because when I see it, when I used to watch Arsenal back in the days, I used to be, secretly jealous of their football. They were playing great football, but now it's like you watch them, they're so defensive. It's like, yeah, it seems like they're playing 3 at the back, but it's more like 5 at the back. I remember against Villa, I saw a clip, and it's like everybody was like in a line. And it seemed like Aston Villa was like the Arsenal. You saw the way they were so comfortable as if they were playing at Villa Park or wherever they're home. Like they were so comfortable on the ball. Grealish was just having a field day. Barkley was having a field day. And it's like Arsenal just couldn't contain these guys. And they literally got bullied off the park.
So
by 1 or 2 players.
You watched the Aston Villa game, right?
Yeah, I saw the Villa game.
I have to ask you because we spoke about this in the podcast before the season started. What do you think of Willian's performance, and in general, how do you think he's done for Arsenal for this season? Because all I seem to see is a lot of criticism handed his way, particularly after that Aston Villa game.
But this is not a surprise, like when Willian, I did mention it. If you go back to the pod, I did mention it that he's not the same guy as he. In fact, he's somebody that he's got so much talent, but he never really, you don't really get to see it. For someone of his talent, you think he should be getting loads of assists and loads of goals, and he doesn't do that. We've had him for 7 years, and he was frustrated. Like he flatters to deceive, and I was trying to say that to a lot of Arsenal fans, but, it's banter. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, we got your player, blah, blah, blah. We got Willian now. He was playing crap football at Chelsea. Now he's going to come and play real football at Arsenal. And I warned you, I was like, listen, this guy is going to frustrate you guys. But people get arguing with me and saying, oh, he's a world-class player. You guys don't know how to use him. I'm like, I watch this guy every day for 7 years. You watch Match of the Day. It's 2 different things. You know what I mean? Now, everything that I predicted was going to happen Arsenal fans are crying about, oh, he can't hit a first man when he hits the first man when he takes a corner kick. I told you that. Don't put him on corners. I say personally, if you want to get the best out of him, I say play him on the left-hand side or like a number 10. But it seems Arteta's not playing that type of football. He's keeping him on the right. Arteta is not really playing inverted wingers. It seems he doesn't like that. So you're going to get a lot of frustration from William because he's not really gonna do much on that side. So, and also he's 30-something. He's winding down, and you got him for you gave him a big contract for 3 years. There's a lot more frustration that's gonna come from that, and they haven't seen nothing yet. There's only 4 months. We had him for 7 years, and we were screaming that this guy needs to do something. Yeah. Set pieces like free kicks and stuff, he's good at, but his all-round gameplay, he's going to frustrate you. And unfortunately, Arsenal fans are starting to see what I've been telling them all along.
It seems like they are playing a very defensive way. It doesn't seem solid, especially given them after the match against Aston Villa. Stuart, I know obviously you're a Brentford fan, and you saw a former guy there, Ollie Watkins, handing one to Arsenal. Quick word on Aston Villa. Before I move on to Lay again, talk about Ozil. But how do you think Villa are doing so far, especially with the old boss?
Asking me, bro.
Yeah, you.
Oh, they're doing fantastic. And as you said, Ollie Watkins has been a revelation. I think he's got 6 goals in 7 games. I was really happy that he's really, hitting the mark in the Premier League because the criticism of Brentford was that we were selling our strikers and they weren't really doing it in the Premier League. You had Andre Gray go to Watford, and he didn't really do much there. So people were saying, Brentford's model works in Championship, and they might have good players, but they don't really perform in the Premier League as it should. But Watkins has just demonstrated that Brentford's model works, and that players that leave that club can really do well in the Premier League. So in that respect, I'm really really pleased for Watkins, and I hope he carries on scoring goals. I think in terms of the Arsenal problem, the only point I'll make is that Lacazette, he's not staying up front. He's trying to play like a full number 9 role. He's not really staying with the last man. I looked at the heat map against Aston Villa and a few other teams, and all the yellow dots are around the centre park. So I think he needs to kind of stay in that striker position. Wait for the service to come through, because right now he's coming too much to try and receive the ball. So that's potentially one of the problems with Arsenal right now. It seems like they sacrificed that attacking output for kind of defensive, structure, and it's worked. I think this season they had the best. Before the Villa game, they had the 3rd or 4th best defense in the league. But perhaps last time the result might expose them, might have exposed that to the lie. But yeah, it says that's really. I'm happy for them, and I hope that Dean Smith and Ollie Watkins continue to smash it in the league. And also for Emiliano Martinez, I mean, he deserves all the success he gets. Yes. I think you mentioned that the North Aston Villa isn't really necessarily a step down in his career, because he's gone from being number 2 at Arsenal to being number 1 at Aston Villa. It doesn't matter number 2 what club, you're still number. You can be a number 2 at Real Madrid, but really you're not going to be playing games, are you?
Exactly.
If you're number 1 in the Premier League, you're automatically going to be, being a number 2 from another club. So he's definitely made the right move, and it seems like it's paying off.
Yeah, no, I wanted to get to that, because it seems to me that the sale of Martinez, although he wasn't going to be who knows, but he wasn't exactly the first team goalkeeper at Lay. I do know that you personally were very unhappy that you'd sold him before lockdown. Arteta was picking Ozil in the team, the Arsenal team. Ozil came up with some comments which clearly upset the sponsors, and Ozil is no longer part of the Arsenal team. What exactly is going on with him? We've seen how Ancelotti has protected James Rodriguez and brought in some ball-winning midfielders just to allow James to walk around and stroll around and work his magic. Why can't Arsenal do that for Ozil? Given that you bought Partey, but obviously that's not enough. Why are they not catering to arguably the best player in your team and the guy who earns the most money?
Yeah, like I said, the Arsenal issues run deep. Like the problems with Arsenal are serious. Like, so I mean, where do I begin? Ozil. Actually, first of all, Martinez. Like I said in previous podcasts, I was very upset to see him. I thought it was a better goalkeeper than Bernd Leno, and he's been at the club for so long. Like, so him, I definitely do want to see leave. But I mean, all the best to him. You have to be number one somewhere, like Stuart says. Like so. But then the Ozil Ozil's situation is a reflection of the issues at Arsenal. Now, when Arsenal signed Ozil, even prior to them signing him, like I was a big fan. Like it's very rare, like your club signs your favorite player. Like it rarely happens. Like for me, it was like Ronaldinho coming to your team, or like especially after the players we had. So Arsenal signed Ozil, but then unfortunately do what Arsenal do best, which is half step. So Arsenal always half step. They will go that little distance and you think, oh snap, they're back, they got Alexis Sanchez. Or you've always heard they've got Peter Cech, but they don't sign anyone else. Do you know what I mean? Like they get Ozil, but they don't get a DM or a striker for him to pass
to. Wouldn't it make more sense to bring back a Ozil to play? Because now you've got legs. You've got Elneny and Partey who provide the legs within the midfield. Bring in an Ozil.
Yeah.
And then someone like Lacazette can start scoring goals again. You know what I mean? Or someone, and Aubameyang, you can kickstart Aubameyang's, goal scoring prowess. Why would you keep someone like that on the bench because of quote unquote he said something political? It's not just the thing with China, it's the thing with his links with the Turkish president or whatever, and also he didn't want to take a pay cut, or it's he's got a clause in his contract where a loyalty bonus fee that they don't want to pay because if he plays they have to pay him this bonus. Like it's a lot, like which is it that you're being detrimental to your club because of certain things? I mean, it's not the craziest thing that anyone has done. If you go back to what's his name, Jamie Vardy, when he did the whole thing with the clowning the Asian people, he said his apologies. I think he got dropped.
Oh, was that when it was in a bar or something?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like he really disrespected, the Asians, and he paid his price for it. But at the same time, he apologized. He got fined. He got his licks and came back and move on. They're dragging this thing with Ozil, like it's.
They took Ozil out of the Pro Evolution game, bro. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they took this. This is in China, bro.
And FIFA.
Yeah, bro. Like they took him out of the game and they playing Arsenal matches. Like the whole thing, just bro.
What were you gonna say, Stuart?
Arsenal reliant on Chinese revenue, on marketing in China.
Every club should be. They'll be stupid not to. That's a market. Like that's the biggest market in the world.
Because you had that same issue in the US, right? In the NBA.
Oh yeah, exactly.
He silenced. I can't remember which it was. Right?
What happened?
But the basketball players that had to basically stop talking about the Chinese treatment of Uyghur Muslims.
The protest in Hong Kong, I think.
Was it the Hong Kong thing? Yes, that's right, the Hong Kong. I can't remember the names of the players, but I think LeBron James was also trying to say something, and then China must have kicked in. China said something, and then immediately the club told to shut up. But yeah, you had the same issue in the US. I'm wondering how reliant China is for the clubs in.
Yeah, of course, it must be. It's a big market, and just imagine your players taking up. They're not showing your matches out there. Like it's a big thing for them, and I mean, just for whatever it's worth, I do understand Arsenal's as much as I attest it. I understand from a business perspective because business is ruthless. Emotions.
I don't understand it because for what Stuart just said is like we mentioned the Jamie Vardy thing with that whole.
Vardy's not.
No, but I know. But one minute we mentioned Jamie Vardy, but Stuart has now come and said LeBron James. LeBron James is one of the biggest stars in the world. If he said something about the I'm not sure what he's saying verbatim, but if he said something about that and the Chinese,
different. I don't want to get too political here, but the side he took was not necessarily the underdog side, in my opinion, man. Like, LeBron James is not cancelled, and no disrespect to football, NBA is somewhat more lucrative in terms of individual players. Ozil's still getting paid. It is what it is, but like,
but yeah, he's getting paid, but he's not being played. So
saving money as a result of him not playing, which is obvious. So
are they?
Yeah, no, for whatever reason he's not playing, it's a risk and reward, isn't it? They know, okay, we're not going to play you, but this is what we get for not playing. Like, I heard a rumor, and I don't really want to spout because it's a rumor, but like you were saying, I heard Arsenal save 100 grand every week he doesn't play. Like, or at least a substantial amount of money, which is obvious. That's why they're not playing him. The mistake Arsenal made is that Wenger didn't get his way. He knew he was leaving. Gave Ozil a contract and thought, you know what, I'm going to take care of you, bro. It's cool. Like, you're my boy. I'll give you this. Like, I failed you as a manager, whatever. It's true. Like, okay, I'll give you this big contract. And he did the same thing for Ramsey. That's why Ramsey's contract got withdrawn. That's what they always said. Like, Ramsey was always like, oh, snap. You could tell Ramsey was surprised. It always looked like he was going to sign it. Emery came in, then Raul guys, and were like, what? Ozil's on 350. Ramsey's getting like an offer of probably the same because it's Ramsey. And they just pulled the plug, and unfortunately now Arsenal just have no creative, like, it's bro. Like,
so have we seen the last of Ozil?
I was about to ask that. Yeah, do you think he'll ever wear an Arsenal shirt again?
Nah, I think he wants to play again, which is why he's staying fit.
That doesn't make sense. He's been staying fit for a long
and I swear he's not registered to play.
No,
he's not. For 25-man squads.
Nah, he can be registered in January and he can be registered in an emergency before that. But the way he's been staying fit and posting it, Ozil's always, he's an athlete. But the way he's staying fit, it's like he's gearing towards something in January, possibly.
The MLS.
I mean, I just want to see him play. Like, he's my favorite player. I mean, I'm going to say it openly here, for the world to know, man. I do not support Arsenal this season. Future until Ozil plays or leaves, I do not support Arsenal or FC.
You've disowned them.
Yeah, I support a club that will do a player like that when he needs the most support. This is someone who, at international level, unfortunately, suffered a lot, man. Like, he was made the scapegoat for their exit. Like, it was terrible. This is a crucial time for him. And then Arsenal just, he got robbed at knife point about a year back.
Yeah.
City. Like, Arsenal just really handled it poorly, like, from so many angles. Like, nah, that's not the team I have.
So that means basically we've seen the last of him in an Arsenal shirt. Like, he's not.
Well, it's possible he could play.
But then how is that possible? If we're saying your Arsenal saving like 100 grand a week every time he doesn't play, then why would they then?
If things go too bad, they can't get our, like they couldn't the last time, and things go bad, and they've got 6 months left to play him. Yeah, okay, we'll pay him his money. Like, we've saved enough anyway by not playing him. So it's play. I just don't respect the way it's been handled. It's been handled poor. Like, and this is a guy who has the love of so many other players and influence. Like, they've got Arsenal like him free or no posts.
Says a lot, really. And it's crazy. I've got a tweet here. I should have put it on the screen, but I haven't. This is a tweet from Football Bible. This is crazy. Mezut Ozil has correct. This is 2 days ago. They tweeted this out. Mezut Ozil. What's that noise?
Sorry about that.
Oh, cool. Mezut Ozil has created 2.40 chances per 90 minutes under Arteta, the most of any Arsenal player. 2.40. In this period of time, the next closest player is 0.89 chances per 90 minutes. That is crazy. That is such a massive, massive difference. And this is not like, Ozil's whole time at Arsenal. This is since Arteta was there. So the few games that he played with Arteta, he was clearly the best player. Stuart, I'm going to throw a name out there who I think will probably help Ozil, Arsenal, a defensive midfielder who you and I both love, but I would hate it if he was to go to Arsenal. William Barrios. Do you think William Barrios, if he went to Arsenal, could improve their midfield? Like, genuine question.
I mean, if we're going to make the point that playing, if we had William Barrios, so if you don't know, he's a DM that plays in Zenit St. Petersburg in Russia. He was linked with a move to Spurs, I think 2-3 years ago from Boca Juniors, and I thought at the time it was imminent. But he's in Russia. He's continued to excel, and he's, I think, one of the best team in Russia. He's full of energy. He's always up and down, and he's a great tackler as well. So I think if we're going to make the case of having Ozil on the team, perhaps having a Barrios there with Partey would make sense. And I think he has that energy, and he's like a fly. He's small, but he's really feisty and tenacious. And having a forwarding midfielder like that, like Barrios in the team, would make a massive difference. So if you guys haven't checked him out, check him out. William Barrios. Wilmar Barrios. Yes,
not William.
Yeah. He's a good William, not the dodgy one at Arsenal.
You're gonna say something like?
Does he not sound like Torreira though? That sounds just like Torreira.
He's better than Torreira.
No, but seriously, but it's a management thing. That's the problem with Arsenal. They've had the players, they've just messed it up. Like Arsenal just half steps, like with the Ozil situation, the Ramsey situation. Like they just lost within 3 years. They lost Alexis, Ramsey, Ozil, Cazorla to injury. When technically our medical department has been substandard for years. Like this is a player that was diagnosed to not play again potentially. All of a sudden he went to Villarreal, and God bless him. Had a great
he's smashing it.
Like, do you know what I mean? I know he's moved over to, I think, Qatar or Saudi Arabia now, but he did amazing. I'm telling you, Arsenal have real issues. Like, we just see it on the pitch, and we think, it goes deeper than that. Like, and I'll always say this, a club that gave William Gallas the number 10 shirt is a circus. No. I don't care how you do it. Now, Chelsea have done similar things, and no offense, Chelsea have their own issues. It is what it is. We're talking about Arsenal. A club that could do that. The Arsenal, they're just not serious. Like, they're not serious, like, at all. So, it's reflecting now, and we can sign whoever. The Ozil thing, I'll answer your question, Dennis. Yeah, probably he's done in an Arsenal shirt. Like, and it's a damn shame. And unfortunately, this is not putting Arsenal in a good light from a moral standpoint. I know business is business, but I looked up this issue that Ozil highlighted, and it's actually quite serious. Like, so we'll leave it at that politically, but Arsenal, I don't know. They could have. It would never happen under Wenger. I would say that. I have to.
Well, I want to say, if I'm obviously playing devil's advocate or whatever, but
final word, Dennis.
Yeah, you think that they've learned their mistakes, and like since Arteta's come, you kind of look at the buyers that he's bought. He's bought like what's the defender's name? The Brazilian. Yeah, Gabriel. He's a very good player. He's bought Thomas Partey. He's a very good player. Yeah. Who else has he brought in?
No,
the signings he's brought in, shouldn't Arsenal fans be kind of like looking forward? Like, you can see that he's bringing in the right personnel into the team now.
Yeah,
into the club now. Like he's looking at the right personnel. Like you guys were saying that William Barrios, if it's a player that Arsenal are looking at, that's a sign that the club is going in the right direction.
I don't think they're looking at it. Who's scenario for Brian on my side? He's Colombian.
So he's just trying to throw out the plug. You know what I mean?
You just said it. So hopefully,
I'm looking for 2.5%. 2.5%. Thank you.
No, but don't you think that they've erred their ways and they're heading in the right direction?
They are heading in the right direction. The only problem is, unfortunately, everything now is under the microscope. Like with Chelsea, for example, you've turned the corner, but a few weeks ago, it could have been rocky. One more result, You know what I mean? Football's on a 3 to 4 game basis. Like when Wenger used to do this, I used to think, but I get it now. Even though I try and think long term, but you know, emotions don't work that way. And everyone's attached to their club, which is why I took the wise decision
to disown your club.
Yeah. You all have free will, my people, man. You know what I mean? Like, nah, real talk, man. Listen, man, you can just enjoy your weekend and just watch a game.
Anyway, guys, listen, it's been great talking about this with you guys. International football has its moments. Unfortunately, pre-World Cup and continental competitions are a bit dead. And yeah, Ozil and Arsenal is a very interesting situation. It's good that you brought up the NBA, Stuart, because I think it shows that it's not just a football problem or an Arsenal problem. It's a business issue across multiple sports, and I'm sure there's many other athletes in different sports that don't get to say what they want to say because of sponsorship. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been emotional. If you're new to the show, again, like, subscribe, and join the conversation. And visit the website, SoccerSanchez.com. Lay Petrelli, D. Lord Don, Stu Gets Goals, the man who's always on social media. Thank you very much. It's been emotional. Take care. See you later.
You still